when you bought a computer 30 years ago, the natural thing to do with it was to learn to program with it. In fact, if you go back just a bit earlier than that, that was the only thing you could do with them. So I guess children viewed a home computer a bit like a Lego set. Is what can I do with it? What can I create with it? Rather than what game can I, or what content can I consume? So it was really trying to recreate some of that situation where the natural thing to do was think about what you wanted to create with Raspberry Pi, rather than just what game you wanted to play. And I think, and create something that's cheap enough, so the price of a textbook, so that anybody who wanted to own one could own one. That was the other thing. So ownership's really important. So if you're going to do this sort of tinkering and experimenting, you don't want to be doing that, especially on the electronics side, because we're also very interested in sort of people playing around with electronics. You don't want to be doing that with your father's or mother's computer or laptop. You want to be able to do something that, in a way, is disposable.
Something like that before?
That's an interesting one. I think.
Because it looks quite simple. It's
yes.
not, but
yes, I suppose it's this. It's a different. Yeah, that's a good question. So why hasn't someone done it before? That's something we've thought about a few times as well.
Melhor deixar essa pergunta para lá. Vamos ao que interessa. Como enxergar o potencial de uma placa tão pequena?
Robert, I have just bought my Raspberry Pi, just received it at home, and what should I do now?
Well, so let's talk about how to plug it in and get going. So the first thing we're going to need is a keyboard and mouse. Standard keyboard and mouse with USB connectors, and we just plug those into the sockets here, like that, and like that. Then we have two choices. We're going to display a picture on a monitor, so we either use the HDMI connector for this sort of LCD monitor. And if we had an older style television, we could use the composite output. But today we're going to use this HDMI output. Another thing we need to do before we get started is plug in an SD card that has the operating systems and applications we're going to run. So this has everything. This has all the software we need to run Raspberry Pi.
Which operating system is it?
So this is it's based on the Linux operating system. And the last thing we need to connect, obviously, is power. This comes from a standard mobile phone charger with a micro USB connector. So we just plug in the power, and we should hopefully see something on the monitor. The lights come on, and there we go. So this is just the operating system warming up, if you like. It takes a few seconds now before we get a standard desktop environment.
It's the first thing I'll see when I turn it on.
Yes, and there we go. So, and this is a standard desktop, as you would have seen if you'd used any other modern computer, I guess. The plan was to make a small number of them, give them away at open days. And then we thought the developer release, we might sell a few thousand boards. It really was, the plan was just to provide them to developers to help us improve the platform. But of course, we brought down the distributor's website on the first day, and we had hundreds of thousands of orders in place in a few weeks. So real success disaster, as we've called it many times, which is great. But we've come a long way since that release as well. So the platform's getting more and more refined, and we're moving towards sort of an educational release, which will be a little bit more polished, come with a manual. There's an array of cases that are available now, which perhaps some sort of case for a school environment is sensible. I think you learn an awful lot about what a computer is, what computer science is, by learning programming. So that's a great thing, and I think it's a really valuable thing to do, even if you're not going to go on to become a computer scientist. Knowing what a computer is, knowing what it can do, is a great skill to have. No matter what career you go on to do. The other thing that I guess is great about Raspberry Pi. It's small enough to be built into other projects. So we've seen some really nice examples of how Raspberry Pi can be used inside a bigger project. So it's all about giving children the ability to be creative and innovative with technology. So giving them the basic skills and then letting their imaginations run wild.
Ellie, I've already done that.
And how do you think Raspberry Pi can make a difference in emerging countries like Brazil?
So, I mean, I would hope that you know, all the reasons why it's important for people in the UK to learn computer science also apply to Brazil. You know, so I think it's important. It's an important skill, no matter what you know, what job you go on to do. I think it's hopefully again it's appealing because it's low cost, because it's open and it's flexible, and it's not just. I mean, our primary goal is education, but of course people are also thinking about how to build this into products as well. So it's a great platform for being innovative if you're at a slightly more advanced scale level as well. The thing I'm in the process of doing is trying to create a consortium of companies to support the development of educational material. So that's one area where I'm very interested in, if companies are interested in supporting that kind of endeavour. Modules. So these two connectors here enable you to connect a camera directly to the processor, and the processor is very powerful. It can do sort of HD video and encode and decode. So some interesting things we can do with a camera, and also small LCD displays as well can be interfaced. So they should be coming in the autumn. And as I said, books, programming competitions. So we've already started a sort of a series of programming competitions sponsored by the Foundation. And that's really exciting as well, seeing what children can do. So the idea is they send in their projects, and they can win prizes. So that's great. So lots of things, and lots of things, interesting things in the pipeline. That's the goal, is to create a generation of people who are confident, who can control and manipulate the digital world, and aren't just passive consumers of content. And I think it's, you know, what I've seen when children have come in is that they've got, you know, a huge amount of energy. They're completely fearless. They've fantastic imaginations, and unless we give them these opportunities, we're really letting them down, and we're not preparing them for the world that they'll emerge into.